Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is Wednesday, March the 22nd, 2023, and today in my on Cloudstratus shoes, I traveled 4 miles in 1 hour and 5 minutes. My standard walking time for an hour is approximately 2 miles an hour, or it used to be. I'm not quite sure if that pace has increased in any way. What I am sure of is at a nice leisurely rate. Normally, when I'm walking through any kind of, let's say, a natural terrain type trail, my average walking speed is 2 miles per hour. So, as I said, in just 1 hour and 5 minutes, I went 4 miles. And I would have gone a lot further, but today, for whatever reason, I started to feel some hot spots on the bottoms of my 2 smaller toes on each of my feet. So I did end up stopping the walk right at, or the run walk intervals right at that distance at 4 miles precisely, because that seemed like a great place to stop for the first segment of whatever I happen to do today. I say the first segment because I don't know between now and the end of the month if I'm going to only do one session per day, or if I'm going to get on the treadmill and or hit the trails more than once per day. What I am certain of is that I've been using my Garmin device's little motivating factors of earning badges as the fuel for trying to determine just what I'm going to end up doing for a certain period of time. Just as an example, the Garmin badge that I would most like to achieve or obtain is the I think it's called the first quarter rundown, where you're supposed to complete 186 point something or another miles during the first 3 months of 2023. And currently I have 129 miles, 129 point something, or somewhere around there. So I have almost 60 miles. I'm not sure. I know I'm not doing 50 miles, something like that, to do between now and the end of the month. So not very much time. And in addition, there's a walking badge that I could earn where I have to also complete a certain number of miles. I think it's like 91 miles by the end of this month. And currently I have something like 61 miles, so I still have to walk about 30 miles. So it seems like I might only be able to earn one badge or the other, if any, at all, depending on how things go over the next few days. But in the Cloudstratus shoes that I was wearing, I was able to run at speeds where I'm not quite sure how it translates, but on the treadmill that I have, the treadmill speeds go all the way up to 12, and at the speed of 6, basically I'll complete 1/4 mile lap in 2 minutes or less. And so I was able to sustain, basically maintain a sustained speed of 6 on the treadmill, which put me at a 1/4 mile of about 2 minutes. So if I was able to do that, for an example, for 8 minutes, then I would be doing what would be known as an 8-minute mile. So that's basically what I was able to achieve with the Cloudstratus shoes, feeling pretty much comfortable the whole time. The only thing is that I am still what would be considered obese, and I sweat quite a bit, even during the first mile of an interval where I'm running at a speed of maybe 3.5 on the treadmill. 3.5 for me is a very low or slow speed. It's almost probably just jogging, but it's also a speed that I can maintain over much longer distances. But if I travel at 3.5 on the treadmill, I'll begin sweating by about a half mile, and by a mile in, you can tell, and you might have seen the videos on this channel itself in the past where I recorded my my treadmill experience, where I was just telling you an overall story about what was going on during that portion of the journey. In this portion of the journey, last night I was able to sleep the entire night through, especially after coming here to share my story about what was happening 2 days before on this channel, and kind of I believe that some of the success is because I'm able to share my journey here and recognize that some people are listening, maybe not quite ready to respond, but they're listening so that they can hear what it is that I'm going through and recognize what it is that they're going through with regard to circumstances in their lives. So all I've got to say is that, health is wealth, and if we don't invest properly into these aspects, then we will never rebuild our wealth. So for anyone out there who is having trouble keeping the lights on, for anyone out there who's having trouble passing things through the digestive system, for anyone out there having severe headaches, for anyone out there having difficulties with mobility, for anyone out there having difficulties with maintaining concentrated thought process, focus, with anyone out there, for anyone out there who's having trouble smiling, the journey has to include self-tending, or tending to ourselves, because in a lot of cases, there's no one out there that's going to help. And I say that out of a place of kindness, knowing that basically even when I had a situation where a direct relative of mine threatened their neighbors with a tool, with a screwdriver, when they went to do that, we notified the authorities, and basically nothing was done. It seems like in my country, the bringing things to anyone's attention doesn't really seem to do anything. Just look at all the news channels right now, where you have so many famous trials, famous cases that have been presented to pretty much to the nation. And look at all the documentaries on television right now, where you see stories about, people saying, well, I tried to tell these people, that something was going wrong. And basically, even though some of the authorities got involved, nothing was done. That's basically the nation that I live in. And I know that from my perspective, I've only seen a fraction of the injustice, because I'm not the same gender or ethnicity as other people who have been faced with even more daunting scenarios. I recognize that some people may never face any scenario, any justice, because, again, they might be a different ethnicity than someone else who could be perceived as a threat. And that's just the way that things are going. So if we don't balance our physical, our mental, and our spiritual well-being, in a lot of cases we can run into circumstances where we present ourselves even more villainously than we would have otherwise. And so it's very important to try to take these things to heart. If we don't feel good, we're not going to treat other people well. And if we don't pay too much attention, the way that these energies resonate back and forth are such that we basically begin digging our early graves. So I hope that some of the information I'm saying here resonates with you. I hope that you understand I'm not just trying to showcase, a treasure trove of shoes. I'm not just trying to tell you, this is what you have to do. What I'm saying is that we all have the opportunity to do something to improve ourselves so that we can basically have the energy to improve one another's day. And if all we're doing is coming at it with an accusatory mentality, then in some cases the judgment that we leverage won't even allow us to answer a question when someone asks a question to us. Like if someone were to ask me, hey, do you remember when you mistreated me this way or that way or the other? The first thing that I would want to do is to listen and say whether or not I remember that incident. If I didn't remember it, then maybe I would want to hear more about the other person's perspective of what it was that happened. And if I did remember it, the first thing I would want to do is maybe feel remorse for making someone feel bad, because I know that I myself don't like feeling bad when someone leverages things at me that would make me feel bad. And so if someone were to tell me a situation where I made them feel bad, the first thing that I'm not going to do is get defensive, because I'm not in an agitated state. I am able to recognize that I am a sum of all of my actions. And so what I would have to do, just based out of respect, is to listen to what the other person has to say and try to at least understand how they felt, and apologize for making someone feel the way that I've made them feel in the past. And in a lot of cases, having these conversations as adults is a lot more challenging, because many of our adults are just focused on the egocentric way of life, where if someone were to ask a person, do you remember when you did this? And that egocentric, trigger was hearing this question, sometimes the response would be like, I don't want to talk about that. But in the same case, us adults normally hang on to these thought values for basically forever, and that's what living in fear causes. And so when we're gripped with fear, we may never want to have a conversation with somebody, because we might be afraid that someone is trying to call out our shortcomings, instead of recognizing that we are a team. And without being able to recognize our own shortcomings, sometimes it takes true friendship to see the shortcomings in ourselves. Because if we can't look at the mirror, then hopefully we can at least look to our best friends to have a clear and concise communication that allows us to go the extra mile, and to recognize when it's time to put down that entertainment value-sized meal or show or whatever, and get back on the treadmill and start, get back in your shoes, get back, even if you don't have shoes, get back on the sandy beach and start putting in those steps towards peace, towards wellness. And hopefully that journey will lead us in the direction of conservation. So until next time, thanks so much for listening. Peace, love, and all that old school stuff.